Okay, so I wanted to come up with 100 theoretical ideas for how you can interact with virtual particles for propulsion. In every single case, the properties of virtual particles is a virtual particle will borrow space, the energy from space, and then it will release the energy, and then that virtual particle just becomes empty space again. So whatever you do to a virtual particle, if you're able to interact with a virtual particle, whatever you do, it will create a motion of space. So like say gravity is pulling on virtual particles, they disappear, they become moving space, moving inward towards the gravitational force. And so, yeah, and if any of these ideas, if any of these warp drive ideas work, then I'm going to make a crazy prediction about the um, parallel universe having a serious influence on our universe. And gravity should have a north and south pole like a magnet, but it doesn't. And there's like a wormhole that leads there. Not a wormhole, but half of the gravitational field is in our universe, and half of the field is in the other universe. So the north is here, the south is there. That would be the prediction. Well, anyways, back to these virtual particle warp theoretical ideas. So this is the first idea that I came up with. Originally, it was a cup, and then I was thinking about the dimensions and how they interact, and it became a cylinder, um, and then it became multiple, and then I ended up building the design. And so it's just going to be a long cylinder, about 12 inches long and 3 inches wide, and there's going to be radio waves that oscillate through here, high frequency radio waves that oscillate through this inside here. It's going to be vacuumed out. This is going to be in a hard vacuum, and there is going to be no particles. So in theory, any matter, the proximity of matter has a field. Its field is actually a certain density, and so virtual particles don't actually like to appear near matter. They can't appear in matter. They don't like to appear near matter because it has a density level. So the more energy you sense, the more denser the space is, and so virtual particles are less likely to appear there. It'd be like a spark trying to appear in water. The more absorbent it is, the less likely it is to appear. Um, so anyways, if the virtual particle appears inside one of these cups, then it's going to have the geometry of the cup, so it's going to bounce inward, and then the field is going to be a collapsing field. So all of the space is getting pulled in here, and then the virtual particles hit this wall, they collapse, become space again, and then the space is collapsing in theory. And then on the outside of the cup, let's go to this side so we can see the outside of the cup. It's round, so the virtual particle bumps into this, and then it bounces away, it collapses, it disappears, and then the space is moving outward. So that's the idea, that oscillating, nailing all the virtual particles, and it disappearing and becoming a contracting and expanding space. So that was the first idea. So like, yeah, the radio waves go in here, bounce around inside there. Well, anyways, all the ideas are different, and some of them are like the M drive. So originally in the M drive, the radio waves just bounce around in here. It creates an equilibrium force. And they say that it has some type of magnetic interaction with the magnetic field. And it really doesn't seem like it should work, and it more than likely doesn't. But anyways, there are other concepts that not just look like the M drive, but would be the same thing, but it actually has a reason. Well, in theory, it has a reason. So there's like a window where the radio waves can pass through, but the virtual particles don't. But I found out that this screen idea wasn't exactly the best. Radio waves will pass through glass with no problem. And so it creates an inertial force on the glass that's much harder because the radio waves go through the glass and the virtual particles nail it. but on the walls of the metal, waves bounce away, and the virtual particles bounce away with him. So they kind of get dragged around with him, and they lose their force. But on the glass, they nail it. So that's the idea of that. So much different than the this design. So that's actually like like rocket propulsion type of force that you're getting. This one is much different. This one is just circulating the virtual particles. So over here, there is more virtual particles in theory, and then inside here they have to disappear. They have to disappear because the energy density increases. So I put this angle, this triangular shape, because the radio waves will want to pass through this, but they'll get focused like a magnifying glass lens in this way. So the radio waves are more likely going to go this way, like a diode. They want to go this way, circulate. And so all the virtual particles are propelled around the device this way, in theory, the majority of it. So the drive would actually want to propel you this way. So yeah. Here's another design. This is like the glass design, where the radio waves are propelled in this way, and there are many layers of glass, and then there is like a solar panel where it accepts the charge. So the radio waves don't bounce back. The radio waves go this way. So you could think of the virtual particles as being a litter, like litter in the ocean, and they just want to move this way towards the shoreline, and then they hit the radio waves disappear. They're lost inside here, but the virtual particles keep hitting it. So the virtual particles hit all of these glass sheets and hit this, and the radio waves don't bounce back. So they're forced in by waves. Let's see. Oh, this one is just like a wave drive, like how a boat would actually move in the ocean because of the waves pushing the boat up and down. A fin wants to move the boat through the ocean like this, and it's propelled through the ocean moving forward because of the waves. It's actually the force of the boat pushing down on the waves and pushing up on the waves. So it's the fact that the boat doesn't want to move is why you're able to make a wave boat. So yeah, that's this. It's because of the mass of the cylinder. It doesn't want to move, and so these little hairs move, and so the virtual particles hit these. They're bounced around. They hit these hairs, and they want to just go backwards because they're like a little ring, like a hula hoop, and the hula hoop wants to go all the way down to where there is the least motion. It wants to go to where things don't want to move, so it goes down the poles. So this is a different device. There are many little hairs inside here, very thin wires inside here, and yeah, so yeah, it wants to move it through space that way, which yeah. That's it for now. So I only have like 6 designs written down on here. But anyways, I want to, if anybody has any ideas on how you could use virtual particles for space warp, so I'd be happy to hear it. I'm looking for 100 different possible ideas, and I'm going to put them all in testing in a vacuum. I'm actually going to put them in a vacuum and do testing. Most people don't really take the time to do this kind of stuff. So if you have a little bit of time to create your own idea, like you have a kind of a slight idea you would like to see try, let me know about it, and I'll put it in my ideas for testing for real space warp drive or real warp drive. I am hopeful. I mean, if virtual particles exist like they say they do, then eventually I'm sure a drive like this would actually work. A space warp drive would work off virtual particles, because apparently they are real. Otherwise, science doesn't make sense. Well, quantum physics don't make sense. So if quantum physics is right, then yeah, the warp drive is possible from the quantum vacuum, virtual particles. please let me know if anybody, or please let me know if you have an idea. If you know anybody that might have an idea, let me know. Please draw me a picture or tell me about it, whatever.